Hey guys, welcome to another interview. Today I have Gleb, and this is going to be a fascinating one because Gleb he joined another program before joining mine, and he actually became a coach at that program. And here he is in our program and about to do an interview with us. So I think we can go to a lot of avenues with that kind of insight there. But let's go to the very beginning. Um, Gleb, if you could take yourself back to before you even joined the other program, which is Bulletproof Husband, what were the key struggles you were having with yourself, with the relationship with your kids, your wife at that point in time? Yeah.
Well, Geoffrey, I think a better question would be what kind of struggles I didn't have, because I had them pretty much all. So I was a anger happy, trigger happy man. I was deeply insecure about myself, putting on a facade of, oh, I'm so great, and my ego was running the show. I was pretty successful in business. I was running my own business, running my own financial advisory practice, but at home it was terrible. There was no trust, no safety, no security, not for my kids, not for the relationship I was in, and not for the relationship I was in previously. So it was pretty much I was a deeply miserable person trying to hide it by all means. So, and that is what kind of, I had one previous separation. When it's one, you kind of say, well, the other person is the problem. And here I was facing a second one. And second one, you kind of have to turn the mirror and look inside the mirror and say, okay, I am the problem, or should I say parts of me are the problem. And so it's really the first time that I seriously took a look at myself. I reread a lot of the communication I had with my first relationship, and I say, when she was calling me out on many different things and sharing hard truths with me, and oh my God, she was really patient, but really she wasn't cutting the corners. She was saying things as they are. I really understood and saw, oh my God, that's so true. And I kind of started seeing that, and I go, okay, I need help. And so I tried psychologists, I tried therapy, I tried coaching, like one-on-one, and everybody seemed to give me advice when I needed to fix myself, and not through advice, but like metamorphosis is what I needed, transformation. And nobody seemed to be able to do that. So I watched the webinar, and then I joined the program, and it got me to a certain point, but it wasn't where I wanted to be, but it got me to a certain point.
Before you go too far, I want to kind of like pick on or pick apart some of the things you said there. So number one, it seems like you had to transition from being this kind of like person who believes in this high value man crap, that he was high value when you actually
That's right.
And then you transition to the point where you were actually listening to what your partner was telling you about your flaws, about your shortcomings, etc. How did you go from 1 to 2? How did you go from A to B? From someone, because like part of being that believing in that high value rhetoric is stubbornness, is ego.
Well, life crisis taught me. I mean, as you say so often, if you don't learn from your mistakes and you don't learn a lesson, well, life is gonna create a situation and repeated lesson for you until you learn it. So life created crisis for me, one after another. So the second relationship deteriorated again and again, and so it was the same pattern. And I kind of just saw that it was going to be a second separation, and already my life was miserable, and I couldn't even imagine what it would be like. I was that insecure, and so I go, okay, so what is the real problem? So life crisis is what brought me from kind of took me off the pedestal on which I put myself on, and showed me exactly where I am, which is much, much lower. And that's, once you see, you cannot unsee. And so I go, okay, what's next? What do I do about it?
Yeah, I think so. I think, it kind of mirrors a lot of what I went through as well, because I think a lot of men, they live life in this like rose colored glasses kind of thing. And, I think the example I give, Gleb, is almost like, imagine you're running a company and you every day you come to work and you lie to yourself about how well the company is doing, how great you're doing, how everything is fine, right? And then here you have all these employees telling you, dude, it's not good. It's not good, right? And then you say, what are you talking about? You're the crazy one. I see everything and it's amazing right now. You're the fucking crazy. Stop being so negative all the time. And you are allowed to keep up your ruse in a way until one day you get that bankruptcy letter on your desk. And when you get it on your desk, you realize, okay, I cannot lie to myself anymore, right? You have to wake up because you are now facing the consequences of that. You have faced your day of reckoning in a way. Why do you think, and the answer to this could be obvious, but like, why do you think you waited till things are very dire before you even did anything about your situation? And that's kind of the shame that I have with a lot of people, Gleb, is, you know, they have to wait till things are stage 4 cancer before they're willing to do anything about it.
Mm-hmm. So in other words, like why I waited so long before taking action when things were not so dire? Why did I have to wait until big crisis hit?
Or why were you so blind? What kept you so blind in the first place?
I'll tell you. My biggest, so this is something I discovered later, is I had a couple of fears. One was fear of work, and the other one, even bigger one, was fear of pain. And so childhood trauma came in, and the fear of pain. So I knew that if I were to start addressing the real issue underneath it all, I would find that pain. And so I was trying to hide it by all means, mask it, so pleading, and things so on and so forth. It never worked, and so I was just trying to find a solution around that, any way possible, not to face that pain, not to face that fear of my own pain. And I think that's the thing that most men have as well, because we must be strong. Crying is for girls, and we're not weak, right? We're men. We have balls. But ultimately, underneath it all, there is the hurt little boy, and for me personally, it was seeing that and connecting with that. And once I did, it all made sense, and I was so grateful that I had the crisis and I had those two relationships that both of them broke down, because I finally found myself in that. But why it took me so long? Because I had that crazy fear of that pain.
Yeah.
Of that internal pain that I had.
But I also want to make this kind of more motivational for people too, because we always mention the word, don't waste the pain. And, you know, if I look at my own life, for example, or the lives of my most like successful clients or my most successful peers, they've always been people who went through the worst crises, the worst stuff, who have been through hell. And some people, you know, I think going through hell is sort of like a polarizer of your life. When you go through hell, or after you go through hell, some men crumble, and they crumble because they play victim, for example. And some men use that to rise up even further. But you're not going to find a lot of people who have gone through hell who are neutral, who are just blasé, who are just going through life, just being normal, right? They either use that to aim high or go very low. And it's great that you chose to use that pain as a way, as a catapult to go higher or lower. But that pain is a necessary ingredient. And I think if you try to avoid the pain or try to run away from the pain, you're naturally going to go down this route. But if you lean into the pain, you don't get scared of the pain, because the pain, you know, is going to teach you something. That's where you rise up, right? So for people who are going through this or listening to this, no doubt that you guys are in a very painful situation right now. But the main question is, what are you going to do with that pain? Are you going to waste it, or are you going to do something with it? So you eventually joined Bulletproof Husband. What did you find, or what was the thing you found appealing about Bulletproof Husband that made you join that program in the first place?
Well, I mean, it was at the very beginning of that program, and it wasn't fully complete. And the promise that they made is get your wife back in 8 weeks or less. I kind of go, okay, that's exactly what I need right now. So sign me up. So I had, in reality, what made me come to the program, I had a breakthrough call with them. And the gentleman on the other line was really good at diagnosing me, kind of goes, okay, so your problem is you're seeking attention because you never got any attention when you were a child, and now you're seeking attention in all the wrong ways. And so that creates the conflict. It all made sense to me. And he goes, listen, we can help you deal with that problem, and we're going to help you reestablish. So I just joined. Reality is I was looking for any solution. Psychologist didn't work. Therapy, traditional therapy didn't work. The one-on-one advice or coaching I was getting didn't work. Books are shit. I mean, any book I read was just making the matter worse. It was at the right place at the right time. I saw Facebook ads, clicked on the webinar, and spoke with the right kind of man, so I joined.
Okay, so you joined Bulletproof Husband. What? Now, obviously, after you joined that program, you told me that you eventually became their coach. If you could just spend maybe a minute just talking about how did that transition from client to coach?
Mm-hmm. So when I joined there, I was still very insecure in myself and speaking to other men. It was a program just for men. And they encouraged talking to other men. And I procrastinated, waited, learning in a bubble there as well. And so I was doing my own thing with the program. And eventually the crisis hit us when second girlfriend, wife left. And that's when I said, okay, I'm really miserable. I'm really lonely and really depressed. I have nothing to lose. I'm not even ashamed anymore of anything. Let me just cry out for help. So I put my number out there in post and said, listen, guys, if anybody could speak to me, I would really appreciate any kind of support. And so 3 men spoke to me, and it was really healing for me. As I saw that I was ashamed for no reason, and I was hiding out for no reason. And then I started speaking to men every single day, 1 or 2 men per day. And very quickly, I saw that I can help them. I can diagnose them. I can see their blind spot and help them get better with themselves. And beyond that, I had a second revolution for myself. Is the first time I heard genuinely and authentically a man cry. When I heard that, like really sobbing and go, wow, we can do that. Like internally something shifted. I didn't know that we men were, I'm coming from Russia. It's a very macho, violent culture. Sure, there are exceptions, but that's what it is. And if you show weakness or emotions as a man, you're crucified. And it's not going to take long. So that upbringing, obviously, we were brought up in this way. We don't show emotions. And so when I heard somebody cry, a man authentically, genuinely just releasing the pain, not in a victim or pity party, but really releasing, that was a metamorphosis. And I started feeling other men's pains and helping bring them to their catharsis, to their experience of their pain so that they can release and let go. And I started doing that more and more. And to the point I said, you know what I do is really good. It works. Men started having metamorphosis. And I said, well, you know what? I don't want to keep it a secret. Let's other men join in. And so I brought in another guy to listen to what I do, then more. Then it started to be a 10 people call, then a 25 people call. And then the guys, the owners of the program said, you know what? We heard about your call. Like you're following, how about we make it official? This call is going to become part of the program. And we're going to pay you to run it and so on and so forth. So that's how essentially it happened.
Yeah. So it's funny because you know what, I'm not going to get into that, but like, okay, so eventually you came across my program.
Yeah.
I mean, something must be missing still
a lot
like, for you to eventually consider my program and join my program. What were the things that was missing, and what was it about my program that eventually made you go, okay, I think that's the next step forward?
Right.
So what did Bulletproof Husband, do you think, what did I not give you that you think I could give you?
Well, it's a very good question, and there are a couple of answers, and I think I can translate it into 2 questions in one, actually. It's what they didn't give me and what they gave me that was not right. So essentially in a program, you're giving tools and you're giving methodology and you're giving like a big picture, and if you follow, step by step a system, literally, you're gonna get to the result that you're looking for. So if the methodology is wrong, or if the tools that are given are not appropriate, then the system essentially, it doesn't.
Basically, it's like if it's not complete, or if what they give me is not pointing me in the correct direction, then
that's right.
I'm not going to go to the destination that I want to go.
Exactly. So I can start with a couple of things. Is that one of the things is they give a landmine, underwater mine. So essentially it works. So manipulative techniques, it works for a time, but then it just, explodes in the face because it's impossible. So they made us do all kinds of promises to their wives, to the wives, scripted apologies, and we actually had to submit an apology to them so that they can review and correct us, and like scripted really didn't work. But what was essentially missing is all the components of how to work with oneself on our different blocks. So you have that with self-suggestions, for example. What missed is detailed and more appropriate knowledge of how our internal systems work. So how's the emotional versus the logical or rational components work, how to reprogram our brain was missing, the healing process was missing, but most importantly, communication. From all of the program that they had one module on communication. Essentially, it said something: ask open-ended questions and shut the fuck up. Pretty much. So that is literally, and from the experience with the men there, and from my own experience, this was the biggest lacking in their program, is the communication aspect. It just did not exist. What I got with your program, and not just like in part, what you have that's superior to them is a whole system where every aspect is not only working, but is refined on a continuous basis as it evolves. So that to me was really good. What you have is a process of the processes. I can say it this way. So you have a process to continuously evolve your program, to continuously improve your program, to help bring men to, not just men, but women as well, to their desired result. The communication is there too. Everything flows in your program. One cannot get to stage 2 if they don't know how to learn it. They don't know how to structure themselves, how to get organized. They cannot get to proper communication if they have the wrong mindsets, for example, if they have subconscious blocks and things of that nature. And they cannot get to reconciliation if they didn't rebuild trust and safety with communication. So everything flows. Over there, it wasn't this way. So, your program by all means is by far superior. Over there, they work on membership. So it's monthly recurring revenue. So they have vested interest in the person staying for longer. I've been a coach. I know the kind of techniques that they use to help accomplish that. So to me, they have a conflict of interest in the structure of the program on its own, which does not exist. You pay once and that's it. You have access to material, you have access to coaching. It's beautiful. So in a nutshell, these are the main points.
Yeah.
I don't know but there is more.
Those are really salient points. And just to break it down into like 5 things, I think. So number 1 is the structure, right? Like you said.
Right.
And, a lot of people, they see the one-time payment that we do as a bad thing, right? But to me, it depends on how you see it. So like Gleb said, because you pay upfront, right? After we enroll you, we have every incentive to make sure that we can give you the results as fast as possible. Because if we have to like still service you 2, 3, 4 years later, that's not good for us anymore, right? So we are incentivized to give you the results as fast as possible. That's a good thing. Number 2 is also, if you look at our program structure, we basically have 4 buckets of the program, right? We have the framework as bucket number 1. We have the internal shifts as bucket number 2. We have the daily practice processes as bucket number 3. And then we have the learning principles as bucket number 4. What Gleb is basically saying is that the full system is this, you cannot master the frameworks until or unless you master the internal shifts. And you cannot master both the frameworks and internal shifts unless you practice those frameworks and internal shifts like a performer every single day. Because we are performing this. It does no good to just conceptually understand what you need to do. You actually need to perform it, and you need to perform it during moments when you got given curveballs, during moments when you're tired, during moments when you're sick. Like, there's no end to this performance. And in order for you to learn buckets 3, 2, and 1, the principles behind it, you need to master how to learn, right? The key difference between people who are just average and people who are very successful is their ability to learn, the ability to uptake new information, to digest the information, not only just what kinds of information they digest, but how they digest it and why they digest it as well. And we give all that. So it's not just the internal shifts or the external shifts, but we give complete systems for that. But even if you dive into each individual bucket, we're also saying, I think, us and Bulletproof Husband is very different in a way where, even for internal shifts, for example, the way I understand it, Gleb, is they're all about catharsis.
That's right.
Understanding your childhood traumas, understanding how it's impacting you now. So it's basically very psychoanalysis, right? And the assumption here is that if you understand your traumas, if you understand your shortcomings in a way, then that's the fix, is you understanding. Go ahead.
It's not exactly that. It's not in the understanding, because there is very little in terms of knowledge, of psychological knowledge out there. I mean, the program over there is very, in terms of knowledge and understanding, is not all that potent. It's only calls that it happens, and it's really healing calls, healing journeys. But I mean, it's my old methodology. What they're doing right now, it's the methodology I had 2 years ago. It's not even actual anymore with what's happening in the world and with new advances in the healing world. And it's really about release of emotions, I would say, as opposed to reprogramming your brain for internal shifts. So that's pretty much what it is. It's, there is a buildup of emotions, and as you like to say, is no matter how much you hold it in, eventually you're going to shit your pants. So like, sorry for the viewers, but I mean, that's pretty much, well, I don't know, use the exact wording or not, probably not, but the meaning here. So it's the same thing with emotions. So they're all the men in the program, or most of them, had a buildup of emotions that they were suppressing all of this time. And their thing is about releasing that emotion so it doesn't interfere. But there is no integration component where the brain can be rewired differently for different responses, for different reactions, different responses, and different, different status quo, different default patterns of thinking, of interpreting reality is not set in. So eventually there is a lot of build-up, and then just working on releasing the build-up as opposed to reprogramming the wiring of the brain that is present in your program. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Bye.
And we'll talk more about this deeply later, which is kind of like our philosophy to what being bulletproof really means versus what most people, I think of as being bulletproof, truly bulletproof. But basically, to summarize what you're saying, it's just like, imagine you have a volcano, pressure's building, and the program, just like therapy, for example, is a good release. It's just like, release, okay, pressure down, but then slowly builds again, pressure down again. So it's not sustainable in a way. While what we're trying to do is like, okay, what's causing the pressure in the first place? And let's destroy the root cause of that buildup of pressure so that we don't even need to release anymore, right? And also the difference is also like the communication strategies too. So in our program, we have 7 frameworks, which we say, if you learn the 7 frameworks, you can guide yourself in any conversation with your kids, with your employees, with your wife, whoever it is. 7 frameworks to rule infinite conversations. And you're saying also like that was very much lacking in their program as well, which is like
existent, not just lacking. Communication is not existing there, and that's the key component. Like, I mean, I was
hello.
There is no school here in Quebec, and so Okay, just want to bring down the light. And so communication was not existent in the other program. It's just not there. And so
yeah, so you were saying their whole communication strategy was non-existent.
Zero.
It's
asking open-ended questions and shutting the mouth.
You know, I want to take this opportunity to kind of like vent my frustration with some people too, right?
Can I join you in this? Because I'd love to vent.
Sure. So we had a client, I think 3 weeks ago. They emailed us basically saying that, hey, you have great, Jeff, your program has great like internal shifts and stuff like that, but when it comes to the frameworks, it's a bit lacking. And so I asked him, like, why? What made you say that? We're literally giving you 7 frameworks that governs all conversations. And we give you endless coaching calls and looms and resources and examples for you to learn from example. We give you a community in which you can practice your frameworks if you need to. And I keep showing you every single day that I use these frameworks myself. And it's versatile. And he basically says it's too complicated, it's too abstract. And to me, you know, the thing I would say to that person is like, give me one program, give me one other solution that actually had the balls to try to distill such a complex art of communication, of understanding how to respond properly to infinite different permutations of what you can get in a relationship, and distill it down to 7 frameworks that will govern every single situation possible. I mean, the level of thinking and craftsmanship I've gone through, the amount of lost sleep I've had trying to decode and synthesize this thing has been unbelievable. And for someone to go like, it's still not enough, then what is enough for you, right? That frustrates me to no end. What is your rant?
Mm-hmm. Oh, my frustration is the fact that not enough people teach what you teach in the world. I don't know where the gentleman is coming from saying that it's too abstract because it's so super detailed what you give. You literally give spoon bites, a complex pattern in spoon bites of information, literally feed us by the spoon. And it's so clear and simple and everything is there. And what I'm frustrated with is how many programs out there teach wrong information, wrong methods that create more damage than the status quo would have been better. But what they teach is actually creating more damage and precipitating decay and entropy. So that's what I'm frustrated with, that not enough people know what you know, and it's not provided into the market.
You know, it's interesting because there was I don't get a lot of like really negative emails and comments, but the few I get, I remember. Because, you know, I'm always very antithetic. I'm always asking like, maybe they're onto something. Maybe you know, I'm always considering that other side. And the gentleman was telling me basically, hey, Jeff, I don't like how you always talk bad about other programs. You guys are on the same team. You guys are on the same side. So why are you talking bad about other programs? That seems very unprofessional. And I didn't respond to this individual because I don't want to start an argument. But like the thing I'm thinking about is, I don't think we're on the same side though. Like when you join another program, it's not like you're getting a light version of our program. So it's not like instead of going 10 feet, you're going 1 foot forward. It's sometimes you're actually going backwards. You're actually going the wrong direction. And I know this because there are many people like yourself who join our program from other programs. And once they join our program, the first thing they say is, oh my God, I've been going in the wrong direction and I didn't even know it. I've been taught the wrong thing. And so that's something for you guys to understand is that, you know, there's a reason I am very antagonistic to some ideologies, to some of the programs. I don't pick on all programs. I pick on some because I see what happens when my clients have gone through those programs, and I see that they literally just paid money and spent money, not only money resources, but time resources and energy resources to literally go backwards.
That's right. Our life.
Right. All because
not get back. Our life was spent going the wrong direction.
Yeah. And now that our program is a bit more expensive than those other options, people are willing, basically they're saying, I'm willing to go backwards to just save a couple of $1,000. I mean,
which is peanuts. After your program, it's really peanuts because my income has risen substantially since I joined, and in part that's because of you and thanks to you.
So guys, just to recap this whole section, right? Like, I don't know how to say this without sounding proud or sounding like full of myself or sounding like, I don't know, just arrogant. But we have developed a program that literally has not really any holes. It contains the full system of everything you need. We even teach you how to learn, how to uptake this concept, these abstract concepts that you're learning. And if you just follow the program to the T, every spoonful I give you, absorb that, implement the next spoonful related to the previous ones, and continue, you will unlock a life, a relationship that you probably cannot even imagine right now. A potential that you cannot even imagine right now. And I mean that. And I think, Gleb, you've kind of felt this before. Anything you want to add to that? Just
Yeah, guys, if you do face relationship struggles, just pay the money and enroll. Provided you're willing to actually do the work, because it will be spoon-fed to you, but you need to do it. You need to work. You need to practice and be a performer. If you're willing to do that, just join. And money, you're gonna make that. I mean, in my case, I made plenty more thanks to the tools, thanks to the internal shifts, thanks to the tools that I learned with Geoffrey, the frameworks. Just working in sales, anybody in business, frameworks are not just for the relationship, for everything, for business, for sales, for kids. The quality of life improved significantly, and that has no monetary equivalent. So what I can say is just it's a money in investment, guaranteed.
Yeah. So and on that note, I just want to make it clear that Gleb doesn't work for us.
No,
we don't pay him a single cent. We don't pay. That's the thing too. Like, people don't know this. We don't pay for commissions. Like we don't pay commissions for people like recommending our program, for example. We have no, what is it called?
Kickbacks.
Like, huh?
Kickbacks.
Yeah, kickbacks, whatever. We don't offer that stuff, right? So, like, you gain nothing from saying these things, from being on this interview. You gain nothing from this. You literally lost time.
No, actually, I gain a lot. But not financially. I gain my own integrity, because when I receive something of quality, gratitude is a thing for me. And so I just want to give back what I received from Geoffrey, because I got way over and above what I paid. And so I want to give back of my time, of my energy. And so that's, to me, that's part of my life philosophy, to give back where it belongs. And so I receive it back also plenty. And so I just want to give back as well.
Thank you. Two more things I want to talk about with the program is, you said this is the hardest program you've ever been enrolled to.
Yes.
So
by far.
You know, I always say, like, this program is simple, but it's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
What's the hard part for you?
I guess the hardest part was the blind victim. And it was always present, still is present at times, and I notice it, and it's like, just again, another shade of victim. The hardest part is at some point that I go, sorry for hard language, fuck this Geoffrey guy, he still got it. Another time I thought, I was right, no, I was wrong. And it's so many times, the hardest part is to realize to what extent I am not at par and my standards are low, again and again and again. After all the work, and I think, oh, here I am. Here I got it. I got to somewhere. And then I realized, oh shit, this is a hole. This is a hole. This is a hole. And my standards are crumbling. And still here's the blind victim, and my performance is not up to par. So it's realizing to what extent I'm not at par with the A game. And that's the hard part. And that's internally. But it's also the fun part, because there is always room for improvement, always room for growth, perfection. There is no limit to perfection. And so that's also the hardest part and the fun part.
Yeah.
The hardest part is to really play in that internal cycle.
Yeah. I think, so just to double on those 2 points, one of the hard parts you mentioned is also, I think, the hard part that a lot of people don't understand about why this program works is, when it comes to working with your psyche, working with your psychology, understand that our brain has, 90+% of our thoughts, of our processes are subconscious. And our brain has evolved that way for a particular reason, because if everything was conscious, if we had to be conscious about every breath we take, for example, we cannot do everything all at once. We're not effective as human beings. So we have to make things subconscious. So that's a blessing of making things subconscious. But the curse is that sometimes we make emotions, we make experiences, we make interpretations subconscious, and we bury it. We bury it deeper and deeper and deeper until we cannot see it. So, for example, when it comes to the victim mindset, right? You mentioned like, okay, I found the first level. I dug maybe like 1 foot down and I found this victim mindset. And when you found this victim mindset, you realize that as you keep digging down, you have deeper ones and deeper ones and deeper ones, and it never ends really. You find these more and more subtle, more and more subconscious ways that you fall for the victim mindset. And this is not just for the victim mindset, but any other bulletproof layers that we talk about, like a fundamental attribution error, for example, like the disguises of desires, for example, etc. You find deeper and deeper ways you're falling for it. And which brings me to a second point, which is like, the reason why it's hard, I think, is this notion of a lot of people see growth as having a set finish line. I grow to this point and I am done, right? But we see growth very differently, and we call it pioneer's growth, right? Where we say, if you grew 10% better this year, is that good or bad? We don't know, because it depends on how much your competition grew. If you grew 10% and everybody else grows 20%, you're kind of behind 10% there. You're kind of slow. You're behind inflation there, right? And so it's kind of like that. Like, you want to grow to become an A player, but the standards of what an A player means is evolving and increasing and changing every single time, right? So for growth, well, we don't really care much about how much you've grown. We care more about how fast you can grow. And how fast you can grow depends on the methodology in which you grow, but also whether you love growing intrinsically or not. Or do you see growing as a means to an end? Do you see growing as like, I grow so that I can have? Or do you grow because you are? And if you grow because you can have, then ironically, you will eventually stop your growth and you will fall behind very, very quickly. And you'll be frustrated and you'll be annoyed and you will hate the fact that, and you'll tell yourself, what's the point of growing? And you'll be even further behind. So it becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy thing. Well, if you say basically, I love growing for the sake of growing, so you learn how to grow faster for the sake of learning how to grow faster, and you grow faster for the sake of growing faster, ironically, you will spend more time focusing on the correct things that makes you actually a pioneer at whatever it is you do, you know? And so, growth is only difficult, just to summarize your point, growth is only difficult if you have the wrong paradigm in which you see growth. If you see it as a doing to have, if you see it as a finish line thing, if you see it as an inconvenience, then you will hate it. But if you see it as something you love intrinsically, then you will love it, kind of thing.
That's right. Yes, untethering in that respect from the result, I think that was really the hardest point. It was the most life-changing for me but it was the hardest also. And but it's good. Once that's done, it's wow, freedom.
I think it's also hard because untethering is such a mind-bending concept. It's such an ironic concept, right? And we always talk about this example of like untethering is a falling outcome, meaning that, imagine you falling asleep. The more you try, the more willpower you exert to falling asleep, the less you can fall asleep. So you cannot just say, I'm going to strive to be untethered today, or I'm going to strive to be bulletproof today. If you strive to be untethered, if you strive to be bulletproof, the less likely you are to be bulletproof or untethered. The more you're likely to be tethered, right? So we have to have a very different system, a very different approach that is usually very counterintuitive to our masculine brains to get to this very, what is a very feminine, a very falling outcome, a very falling skill,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the second thing I want to talk about too is also like how, the difference between this program and the Bulletproof Husband too is how the stuff that you're learning here is really a permanent thing, a permanent change thing. What's the key differences you think between why this program can make permanent changes versus why that one is more of like a temporary Band-Aid in a way?
So let me just synthesize that. So there were some aspects of the other program that created permanent change for me, but it wasn't by design. Yours is by design. Your program is designed to create permanent change. The other program is not designed to create permanent change. The permanency of the change depends on the person by person, and it's more of a potential side effect of what they're teaching and of the effort that a person is going to be providing here. Yours is by design, and I would say that is the big difference.
Yeah. So I want to dive deeper into kind of like how things are now for you. So you've gone through the hard process of going through this very simple but not easy program, and you've been here for a long time too. Tell us how things are like now for you, living in your own world, living with your children, etc.
So I will not be able to attribute all of this to your program alone because I'm a permanent growth guy, also thanks to you. And so I also went through other program and got a new application. But right now, life for me. So all of it combined, including your processes and big parts thanks to your process and what I learned with you and implemented with you, is I have peace and happiness at home. The biggest change for me is that at home I have peace and happiness. Before, I used to be trigger happy, and I had so much shit to deal with. I mean, it was like endless. Oh, I thought I dealt with this. Oh, I thought I dealt with this. And no, more shit is coming up. And the relationship with my kids is just wow. They come to me. They tell me how much they love me. We have no crisis at home ever anymore. Ever. Before, it used to be daily, and then it became like every couple of days. Ever. Doesn't happen. It's like to see that the kids are permanently happy, even when they have some emotions and they have a bad day. They come home, it's a safe place for them to unlock all of this. They open up, they talk about their school, they're 6 and 8, talk about their problems, talk about what kids in the park do and things like that, but see that they're happy and they're safe and they can express themselves. It has no price to me. It's like so invaluable.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest change. Another change is with the mothers to my kids. The relationship has gone places. I used to not communicate with the second mother for 18 months, 0 communication, 3 emails. We're the shared custody situation, 3 emails in 18 months. So, I mean, we communicate on a regular basis. With mom one, she comes over. So there is trust and safety has been rebuilt. Communication is abundant and plentiful. We're able to solve challenges. Challenges happen. We're able to solve them efficiently, and plenty of trust, plenty of safety has been developed. And I know that I have led them with my own metamorphosis. I have led them to change as well, to improve, to grow. So it's in business-wise, I mean, I changed my vocation in the time span that I've been in the program. So I sold my business previous. I started a new business. I run it. It's growing. It's going well. I'm beginning to scale. So and a lot of that is thanks to the structures, the systems that I put in place that I found in your program. And health-wise, I'm in the best health of my life.
Good.
So all of that makes me a happy camper.
Yeah. I want to touch on like the first thing you said, which is like, you can't attribute all the changes to me, which I like the fact that you said that, because I want to clarify something here. When we said to you, right, the program is everything. It has everything to teach you how to fish. It won't have everything, every fish. It won't give you all the fish you need. And here's what I mean. So first is, when I'm designing the program, or when you're writing a book, when you design any program, so let's say the program is like level 5. Know that the creator of that program is not at level 5. The creator of the program is level 50. But if you're at level 50 as a creator, you cannot ever create a program that's level 50. It's just there's too much in there, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is also like, by the time I create the program, even if I try to create a level 50 program, by the time I create it, I'll be level 100. Because it'll take a year, 2 years for me to create that program, right? Like we're working on a new version now. That's going to take a year and a half from today to come out. But what I'm trying to give you guys, so I'm trying to give you guys not the fish, but I'm trying to teach you how to fish. I'm trying to teach you principles by which, for example, how emotions form. And when you know how emotions form, you will know how to change or reprogram your emotions in a permanent way, for example. When you understand the key principle behind emotional safety and how that's created, how that's destroyed, you can start to understand the 7 frameworks and the why behind the 7 frameworks. And you can start to understand that, hey, with the 7 frameworks, you can really have infinite permutations of these 7 frameworks, right? So, for me, for example, and I don't know about you, Gleb, but as I'm learning other courses, because I buy a lot of courses. I spent close to like half a million on courses now. When I buy courses, when I buy books, when I learn from people, when I learn from mentors, I'm filtering when I learn through the core set of first principles that I know to be true. If the new information doesn't fit what I know to be true, I have no problems rejecting it. But if I know it to be true, it fits it, I will use it to augment what I already know, to improve what I already know. So, for example, with the 7 frameworks, for example, right? I am continuously finding new and better ways to use the 7 frameworks. With emotional safety, I am finding new and better ways to create emotional safety, to stop destroying emotional safety. That never ends, but the principle, that's forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does that resonate with you?
Hell yeah. Exactly. The principles, the principles are key. And yeah, I mean, I'm just like you. I continuously grow. And I'm not at the same level, but I'm doing what's good for me. And I'm using the principles, and it's the same thing. So if it fits, I do it. And I'll have to admit that my mental map is not perfect. There is room for improvement, but by growing, I can actually do that. And the principles that you teach allow me to process. I mean, when you, in the first place, teach us how to learn, that's exactly what you do. So now I can learn any program much faster. And pretty much any program I've done since I was top of class, I mean, especially for vocational aspects, I was top of class. I'm regarded and kept in high esteem, and like people come to me to consult how I'm actually doing that, and they don't get it. But all I'm doing is using a lot of the principles I learned in your program.
Yeah. Now, I know a lot of people will be curious about this. How, Gleb, did you go from 3 emails in 18 months to having contacts, having conversations, having a relationship again from 3 emails in 18 months? Like how, because people always ask like, well, if I have no opportunity to even show my changes, how the heck would my partner even like understand that I've changed and feel safe and come closer, etc.? What was that progression like for you?
It was a lot of struggling at first, especially with the frameworks. And then I had to go back to internal shits, framework, internal shits, right? And so the dance in there. And then campaigning, grabbing my balls and saying, fuck it, I'm just going for it. Despite having fear and apprehension, I still did it. And I ran the campaigns, I burned and crashed, and I ran another campaign, and another campaign, and another campaign, and I got better, and I learned first in a bubble, and then with your help, with help of other participants, I got better at this, and that's pretty much, I used the methodology and the tools that you teach us. And so I got better, and opportunities, pretty much, it wasn't so much into what I did, but how I did things and how I showed up, as opposed to showing up. It's like opportunities to do what? As you mentioned very often, if that was not changed, there was nothing to show. So you want the opportunity to demonstrate the same garbage that you were demonstrating before that led to this operation. So the fact that there was such a big gap was actually quite beneficial for me and for the relationships, because she could see and contrast the difference between the Gleb that was and the Gleb that is. And a lot of that was subtle. A lot of that, so many times we went for mediation and she was spitting fire. She was rightfully so, right? Telling me the tough truths. And I just stayed calm as cucumber. And sure, I had emotions, but nothing like I couldn't manage, nothing I couldn't be okay with. And I was able to use different kind of language, hold the space for her to express herself, to be safe, to feel secure, to express the tough truths with me. And that moved the needle a lot. The more she was able to do that, the more she wanted to do it. And so campaigning became easier. And so over time, we developed, we got to a completely different level of relationship.
Yeah. And I get this question a lot, right? Which is like, if I'm under like very little contact or no contact, how the heck am I supposed to show the changes? And I think what I always try to say, and what Gleb is trying to say too to you guys, is number one, when you actually understand the principles behind the frameworks, understand the principles behind safety, and you understand how to perform it, you actually will find more opportunities. You can create and manufacture more opportunities than you think. Imagine two lawyers, right? One lawyer is really good at the law. One lawyer is kind of average. Well, you know what? The great lawyer is going to find some creative ways to win cases, some creative loopholes, some creative angles that the average lawyer is never going to think of. Now, they're looking at the same law book. They're looking at the same set of laws. But one person can find opportunities out of thin air and the other person cannot. And they're looking at the same reality. They're looking at the same world. They're looking at the same case. Right? Same thing here. You are always surrounded in more opportunities than you think. You just don't see it because you don't understand the principles deep enough to be able to allow you to see it. Right? Once you can understand the principles, you can see that, man, I can say this, I can say that, I can say this, I can say that, I can plant seeds here, I can start a campaign here, right? And the second thing that happens too is, again, you have no idea how many opportunities are already there for you. So, for example, right, when you're going through mediation, a lot of people would think that's a moment that's not really an opportunity. That's a moment that spells it's over, right? But you are seeing that as like, this is my opportunity to shine.
Oh yeah.
And then, so you have no idea that as you're saying, I don't have any opportunities, you're actually surrounded by opportunities, but you're just, your brain is not tuned to find the opportunities. You're tuned to play victim and say like, well, not working, I don't have anything, right? And then for you, first maybe you get like, it's like a basketball player, right? You're a rookie, you're like some bench player, you're like a 12th man, right? Getting 1 minute a game, but you rock it that 1 minute. Then the coach is like, he's been rocking it the 1 minute, he's been rocking the 1 minute. His efficiency rating is freaking high. So let me put him in a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes now on average, right? And you slowly work up from there, and before you know it, it's a whole flywheel where you get opportunities, you find or you get opportunities, you do well, you get more opportunities to do well, to do more well, right? It snowballs from there. And but it's a very slow process. I bet it took you like many months to get that flywheel going.
Yeah, but once it goes, it goes. And you just need to maintain it and keep growth. Keep the growth.
Yeah.
Growth. There is no in between.
But the fact that, so for people listening to this, the fact that you guys don't see a way out right now doesn't actually mean there's no way out. It's just that you don't see it. But that's the point, right? It's like we want to grow so much to the point where what you see, the horizon in which you can see, is just different now. That's what we want. If you're growing but you're still seeing the same horizon, it's like a hot air balloon, right? If you go up in the hot air balloon and you still see the same horizon, then it's like, I don't think you went high enough, bro. You should be seeing very different things. Okay, let's talk about also like the bulletproof definition again. Because this other program is called Bulletproof Husband. They literally say bulletproof husband. And I say the word bulletproof vest. And I hate it when people like say, oh, so you're saying it bulletproof vest, he's saying it bulletproof husband, must be the same thing. Us two programs say it very differently. What was the most revolutionary part, or the most life-changing part about understanding our way of what bulletproof really means for you?
Okay, so let me synthesize that. So I came from the other program where I was not only a good performer, I was a star performer of the program. And so I was kind of indoctrinated in the fact of bulletproof, meaning I don't allow things to touch me. So there are all kinds of things that fly at me, and I don't allow them to touch me. I have like this barrier that prevents them from touching me. And so it was very hard for me to de-indoctrinate myself from that, because that made me really disconnected with what was coming at me, because I just put a barrier. I don't listen. I'm just having this shield that happened in front of me, and whatever is coming, sure, if I don't allow this to touch me, and there is no way I can understand what's going on. And if I can't understand, there is no way I can play out the frameworks already, even be in a conversation, even have any kind of relationship. The basic understanding of what's actually happening is lacking. So it was very hard for me to distance myself from this notion, because it was relatively easy. You have this barrier, and if you attach yourself to this barrier, in my case, well, I can justify pretty much anything and keep on playing the victim, and it's her problem. I'm the high value man. So the hardest part was, and I'm saying this also for the other men who are considering enrolling to another program, to realize that it's possible to be indoctrinated into the wrong approach, and you're essentially digging your own grave, because thereafter, to learn the right way, you need to deconstruct the wrong way, which in and out of itself takes a lot of work, and then start to learn from ground zero, as opposed to from ground -10 or -100, which was my case. So the hardest part in learning your way is to really, getting that shield down and accepting, even being ready to accept what you're saying. I had so much frustration with it. I go, what the fuck is this guy saying? It's like, it's nonsense. This is that's the truth, because I was so indoctrinated. And so I'm just going to paraphrase here the difference. It may not be exactly what you teach, but with your permission. So what I learned with your way is to, all of those things that come in, I'm kind of able to take them in and to metamorphose them, transform them into an opportunity. So every bullet that comes in, it's not really a bullet, it's like a flower. If I want to see it this way, so I just need to, accept it, metamorphose, transform it, and then present it with the flowers. So there is essentially no defense against that. And so there are many different layers. So the bigger bullets or the bombs or the bazooka, whatever you want to call them, that are coming, well, it's going to take a different kind of layer of that bulletproof vest and different kind of methodology and system to transform that particular ammunition into something beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what I learned with you, is that instead of having this bulletproof husband, I am, the toughest guy and I'm the strongest and nothing touches me. Now I'm able to allow things to touch me in order to understand things on a much deeper level, what is being said, how is being said, and what's behind all of this, so that I can transform it into a beautiful opportunity, not just for me, but for the other person and for the relationship, so that we can heal and so that we can plant seeds of safety and trust. And the more I do this, the more the relationship is metamorphosing itself. And so the other person understands, okay, every time I throw something like this, I'm getting flowers back, and like it's actually results in something beautiful instead of a conflict zone and a conflict being resolved in a compromise. Now we have a conflict that can lead to a beautiful outcome. I like to work on conflicts with this guy. So that's pretty much I metamorphosed it. I paraphrased your system in a different kind of wording, but that's how I intuitively feel it.
Yeah. And I think it's important for people to understand why the first approach of like just holding things in, it's not just a light version of what we're offering here. It's actually going to put you very far backwards. And we can look at this scientifically too, right? So, first of all, when you start to like just hold your feelings and guard yourself and say like, I'm going to use my willpower to just take whatever shit comes and just like be a man, right? What happens is, like Gleb was saying, you start to numb yourself to your own feelings, to your life. So, people who do that, they don't look within and go like, what am I really feeling right now? And they don't fully explore the full extent of what anger feels like, how it feels like, why they feel anger, for example, right? You're just saying like, I'm angry, I shouldn't feel angry. Stop it, like push it away. So this is bad because not only is it going to make you more disconnected from your own emotions, which will actually worsen things in the future, but it will make you more disconnected from emotions of other people as well, which makes your emotional literacy, your ability to understand other people's emotions, to understand your own emotions too, much lower too. And so this starts a very, very bad cycle where men are just like emotionally oblivious. And that thing that we talked about earlier, where we were trying to find, for example, the deeper layers of the mindset, the deeper layers of like issues, you can no longer do that because you can no longer dig deeper than like an inch now because you're too scared to dig deeper more than an inch. That's the first bad thing. The second bad thing is also what we call like the purple giraffe paradox. Let's say you're angry here, right? And you're angry and you tell yourself, stop being so angry. Now would that actually help you stop getting angry? No. Now you're actually angry about the fact that you're angry. You feel guilty about the fact that you're angry, right? So you just had an emotion and you tacked on another layer of emotion. So trying that approach, you are going to worsen the emotion, the most intense emotion. That's how people blow up, right? Because they just keep tacking on emotions. And then we call it the purple giraffe paradox because like, if I tell you, don't think about a purple giraffe, don't think about a purple giraffe, the first thing you think about is a purple giraffe. When in your fucking life do you ever think about a purple giraffe? The only reason why you thought about it is because I told you don't think about it, right? But me telling you don't think about it makes you think about it. So the same way, if you say don't get angry, you think about what? Anger, which makes it worse. And the third reason really is, like you're never going to spot those opportunities that we talked about if you play on that what we call the surviving mindset, the surviving approach to being bulletproof. Because again, let's say you're getting stonewalled right now, or you're getting like really tough truth, some intense truth from your partner. And you're just telling yourself in your head, just take it then, just take it, right? What are you going to do? Nothing. You're just going to be like speechless. You're just going to be like, ugh. okay, fine, I'm calm, I'm fine, right? But if you can basically like take the thriving approach, which is a slingshot approach, which is like, how do I make something negative into a positive thing? I'm going to see her giving me like tough truth, for example. It's like, you know what? This may be a good sign that like, hey, she finally feels safe enough to tell me this stuff. She finally expressed herself. And you know what? Now is the time for me to reward that. Reward that by understanding her. Reward that by showing that I understand how she feels. Let me relate to her, right? So you take this tough truths that are coming your way and you spin it as a positive thing. So you're not holding anything in anymore. You're like, I love it. I love the fact that you're giving me tough truths right now. It's a great opportunity you're giving me. And it takes a lot of courage from you, etc. Right? That's a very different paradigm to work with. And so just to get to like the first principles behind emotions is like, again, what we feel depends on how we interpret things. And how we interpret things depends on our paradigms, our reflexive beliefs, paradigms that we have about it, right? So a lot of people, they try to change emotions by trying to change the emotions itself. We say, don't change the emotions, change your paradigms. Change how you see it. Change your subconscious beliefs. And we do that through what we call like auto-suggestions that slowly changes your subconscious beliefs. And so whenever you get tough truths, whenever you get like this crazy shit happening to you, you're not going to look at it from a victim mindset, from a this guy's a desire, from a fundamental attribution error. You're naturally going to look at it in a much more positive way, in a much more healthier way. So there's really no, like you said, there's no more bullet anymore. Like, there's no bullet. The bigger the bullet, the bigger the flower you see. It's like weird. That's right. Yeah.
Exactly it.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, let's make a garden here.
Right. And that's what the true definition of being bulletproof is. So if you ever feel like you have to hold your anger, you have to hold the emotions, that you are ticking time bomb, that you are like a volcano with the pressure is building, and you feel like being bulletproof is exhausting, it's tiring, it's something you cannot do forever, then most likely you're taking on the wrong approach to being bulletproof. Right? That's the way you tell. And the other big thing that you learn also was untethering. And this is you becoming basically more process-oriented, etc. Let me just leave it open-ended for you first. Like, what's so life-changing about that for you personally?
Well, this is real freedom, untethering. That's the freedom. I used to be finish line all the way. It's like running from one thing to another, as I mentioned from the get-go. I had so much internal pain undealt with over the years that accumulated because it was all stuffed on top of the other. Exactly as you said. I just needed to go towards an objective. And for as long as I had something in mind towards an objective, I would go there and I would sacrifice everything around. And I would make that objective the most important thing. But once I reach it, for a few seconds, I'm happy. And then I go, okay, so what's the next objective? And then go to the next, then to the next one. And my life was defined by this mirage of an oasis of some dream coming true eventually down the road. And I was not living my life. I was not present. I was always like in there, seeing myself there. And what was worse, when I had that, is that anything that I perceived to be a threat to me of realizing what I believe to be so important to me was essentially treated like a threat. And that includes relationships, people, kids, wives, loved ones. If they did something or said something that in my mind jeopardized me arriving to that destination at that particular time, in that particular day, in this particular way, that's a threat and must be dealt with as such. So with Untethering, I learned that it's not about that destination. Sure, it's important, but day to day, that's not what it's all about. Day to day, it's about working out the processes and the skills and the abilities that will allow me to perform at clutch levels in important moments to get that result. But the result is going to be a result of all of the work and all the performances and all the practice that I'm going to be doing.
Yeah.
It's not, manipulating and controlling my way down to that. And what changed for me is that every person who contributed that and even made me feel uncomfortable in many different ways but allowed me to see flaws in my processes, allowed me to see flaws in my standards, in my mindset, in my internal shifts, in my communication, my frameworks. They were met with gratitude as they were contributing to me refining my own systems, my own processes that will bring me to the desired result quicker, in a more efficient way, in the right way, not what I think is the right way or what my previous internal shifts, previous self to the internal shift, believed the right way and the right date and the right time would be, but the right way for me.
Yeah.
And so that is freedom, because now I can wake up. I don't have that, oh my God, I need to be there at this point, at that time, otherwise I'm a piece of shit and nothing works and that's it, I'm a disaster. No, today I wake up and I say, okay, so sure, that's my goal. So for today, I'm going to practice this. These are things, okay, beautiful. Let's go. I'm ready for life. And I enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's good. As I know where that leads, and I have seen that, I already programmed my brain, and I had a confirmation to my brain that this process works. And so now I know that these processes and the process of working on the process works for me. And so I know that I'm going to be exactly where I need to be, in the right spot for my life, for my own happiness. And I have seen that happen. And so now I'm just like thrilled and excited every day, like wearing a smile on my face all the time.
So I want to double down on like how I relate to the two examples that you gave, but also like I want to take it even further. And something that I haven't really discussed in the program yet on why untethering is so crucial. But just to define what untethering is for people, it's basically shifting your body's addiction away from looking at outcomes, looking at goals, looking at like external outcomes and circumstances to loving the process intrinsically. The main question is, are you learning to do because you want to have, or are you learning to do because you are, right? Doing because you are is the essence of untethering here. And the first like kind of thing is, you know, I think I used this in the program before, but like, I was hiking like a mountain one time, right? And the hike was like a full day. It was freaking exhausting, man. It was like sun up, sundown, freaking exhausting. And I remember during the whole hike, all I could think about was, it would be so awesome to be in the summit right now. This sucks right now. I'm so tired right now. It's so cold. It's so like muggy. It's so rainy. Oh my God, right? It sucks right now. Then I got to the summit. At the summit, I realized like, this is it. I could have seen this from a fucking postcard. Not that cool. And I realized what just happened. I realized that I just redacted so much of my day. I just redacted that whole day. That whole day might as well didn't exist. I couldn't remember anything from that day because while I was hiking, I was thinking about the summit. But when I got to the summit, all I could wish for was I wished I savored the hike more. And I realized that my life is like that too. I've always wanted to achieve something. I'll be happy once I get this. I'll be good once I get this. And I would redact the whole journey to get there, many years of my life. When I get that thing, I forget it. And all I can think about was, I wish I didn't redact 5 years of my life. Right? And now I learned basically like, no, the journey is the point. It's like when you buy a video game, you don't go, let me buy this video game, and as I'm fighting enemies, all the conflicts of the video game, you're like, you know what? I want to go to the end. Well, you know what you see at the end? You see the ending credits, and that's it. And you wish, when you see the ending credits, you wish you played the game and savor the game. Right? That's the first thing. So when you untether, you are learning to understand how to see your life in full, how to appreciate your life in full, journey and destination, both. The second thing, like you said, is it actually makes you more effective too. Like, imagine, you know, you're playing a video game again, you have your main quest and you have your side quest, right? And if you complete the side quest, you're going to make your main quest a lot easier because it's going to give you like all these skills and tools. But then every time the side quests come, you're like, fucking stop it. You're inconveniencing me right now. I just want to go there, right? It's like, dude, I think you're missing the point of what it means to play a game. I think you're missing the point of what it means to live life. Living life is not just about getting to a destination. It's about like loving that journey and getting people on board there and so on, right? That's the point. If you see everything as a goal and you abandon everything else, you're kind of missing the point of life. But the third thing that I want to really talk about is like, if you're tethered, you can never really be a pioneer, right? Because like, if you are working towards a goal, by definition, that goal has been done, right? Like someone has achieved it before.
I agree.
Because if someone has not achieved it before, you wouldn't have a goal. Like Elon Musk did not set out to have a goal of earning this much money or starting that company or starting this company, right? He has a very vague vision because no one has done it though. It's a very vague vision. It's not like a concrete goal. If you need concrete goals and you need concrete goals for you to motivate yourself too, by definition, you're always going to be a follower. You can never pioneer, right? Any pioneers, the reason why they became pioneers is because they learned to love the process in itself. And because they learned to love the process, they managed to grow their skill, their company beyond what is existingly possible. You see what I mean? Like, it's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if you ever want to be a pioneer in anything in life, in your ability to start great relationships, in your career, in your life, whatever it is, as a parent, you need to start to untether because that's the only way you can surpass what's possible. Anyway, sorry, I cut you off there.
No. That's, every time you speak, I realize that where I used to be, where I'm at, and where I'm going to be also. So it's a beautiful recap for my own realization of how far I've come. And that's pretty much the only thing that matters to me is where I was, where I am, and where I'll be tomorrow. That's pretty much the only thing. And I'm loving it, man. I'm loving it.
And
to me, just to paraphrase the pioneer, to me, it's like setting a direction towards where I want to go. And the goals are just perhaps milestones, but potential milestones, not necessarily tethered to it, but potential milestones and barometers of my own success, or barometers of whether I'm on the right path or not. But setting the direction is more important than achieving a particular outcome. That's for me in many ways.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So for you also, like, you talk about the high value man ideologies that you had previously, and we talk about how you got this from a lot of like kind of your societal programming, your cultural programming, your childhood programming, stuff like that.
And I thought it was just.
You thought it was justified.
I thought that was the case. I thought I was high value. When society was telling me, no, man, you're shit.
Yeah. I'm gonna try to approach this differently. This a different question, because I'm sure in your line of work, you see a lot of these self-proclaimed high-value people. Not just in your work though. Maybe if you look at media, you look at just people in general. I'm sure you see a lot of these people.
They wear a crown.
They wear a crown, a self-made crown.
Mm-hmm.
And they want other people to believe that a self-made crown is like the crown. When you see those people, what do those people remind you of about your old self? Like, what was what thoughts go into your head when you see someone like that?
I'm so happy. I'm so happy, and yet at the same time, I check myself. I verify myself. Okay, so if at any point I reject them, I know there is more work to be done on myself. So I accept them as they are. Go, okay, so they have a crown. And the first thing is happiness that I can even realize that, meaning, okay, if I can realize, I can just objectively observe that, great. It means that to a certain extent, I don't have that. And I'm healed from that, and I have grown from that. But it's a great opportunity for me to also check myself. What is my relationship to them? If at any point there is judgment that comes up, I go, okay, so what is this internally that I have not dealt with? Because to me, when I judge something about the other, there is something I reject about myself. And so I just check myself. Okay, so where is that next internal shift that I need to realize what's another shade of my blind victim, or another shade of this dark well that I didn't visit yet. What's there? And so it's a great opportunity for me to go there. But overall, I'm on the one hand happy. On the other hand, I just see the amount of work that needs to be done in this world today. And luckily for this world, there are guys like you who are doing this kind of work, instructing the poor souls, so to speak, of lost souls, I should say, that were not provided with the right methodologies, opportunities, systems, and knowledge, that we're not empowered. And so once we are, it's up to us to become these shining, beaming lights to help other guys. Bring them on board, and let's grow together. Next civilization only.
That's such a beautiful answer. Like, it's almost like you thought about it for a long time or something, because that was like a perfect answer. Because, when we see, this is something we talk about internally a lot. Let's just say that, right? Because like, obviously we get into calls with a lot of people who are struggling, who are high ego, and the reason why they're there in the first place, they're struggling in the relationship, is because of their high ego, their denial, their whatever it is, right? Their issues. And it's so easy for us to start judging people and going like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, with that mentality. And it's easy to let that affect the way we coach, the way we make decisions, the way we talk to our clients as well. But every day is like a fight for us to not do that, right? Because don't judge. And part of that is we remind ourselves too that we were there. We were there where they are before too. So if, that's really judging ourselves, if anything, or judging who we were. But also, if you look at what kept me stuck in that cycle of believing that I was high value and blindly believing it when I was actually not, the reason why I was stuck there was because I judged other people while at the same time saying I'm high value. Because I'm saying I'm high value, I'm judging other people who I perceive as not high value, right? That judgment is what kept me blind to what I was. And so what you're saying was very beautiful, because like when you start to judge other people, that's when you know you may be lying to yourself here, because whenever you judge, you're blind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Really good. Like, you connected some dots in my head. I'm like, that.
All right.
Good.
Yes, sir.
So last point I want to talk about is really that that victim mindset conversation that we talked about in the beginning, which is, that was one of the biggest challenges you had in the program, was seeing the deeper layers of victim mindset and confronting with the fact that as you go deeper, you just expose deeper layers of victim mindset. You never have a finish line there. What were the key victim mindsets that you were holding in your mind when you first started?
My God, how do I even where to start? Well, I was a victim, first of all, victim of circumstances, victim of my childhood, victim of life, victim of abuse, victim of all kinds of things. So I was pretty much a victim on very deep levels. How to even, where to even start with that? I would find a lot of the times in the conversation, in the frameworks, or just in conversations, just in life, the way that it would show up is that I would allow myself to do things that were not conductive to anything good. So just waste my life, engage in distractions. So that could be overeating, that could be overworking, just doing things that are mindless, scrolling Facebook. So every time I would feel as a victim, I would engage in that. So I would see immediately, I'm distracted right now. I'm somewhere in a victim. But the layers of victim, there are so many different layers. Every time I felt self-judgment, I would immediately be in the victim mindset. So, there are so many different shades of the victim. It's I'm not sure exactly how to even answer that. But every time I felt justified in my actions, instead of looking at the reality and playing by your system, I was in the victim mindset.
Yeah.
And I realized thereafter that I was there. And that's where the blind comes in. And that's why it's important to shine the light on that blind spot and to really trust the program and to tell yourself, okay, if it's not in the program, you're in the victim. It took me a while to learn that because I was feeling so justified in so many things I was doing. And there were times when my framework broke down. It was not a linear progression. There were hiccups. And that's a growth journey for me anyways. I don't know if it's the same for everybody, but for me, it was spurts of growth and there were hiccups, spurts of growth, hiccups. And stabilizing that progression was very important for me, but I had to learn in order to do that, to trust the program more. And every time I would see my blind victim, okay, so that's what he was talking about. That's the blind victim. And again, and time and again, I would find it in so many different subtleties. It's like even with the kids, okay, so we're late because they didn't do something. Okay, so here goes the victim. So what didn't I do to prepare myself? So, okay, didn't establish the morning routine, and that's why we're late. Okay, so let's work on that. So morning routine, they don't want to do it. Okay, so maybe I didn't teach them and train them properly. Okay, so I teach them and train them properly. Let's take time for training. They don't want to take time for training, so I didn't provide them with one-on-one time. So let's provide that. So it's like deeper and deeper and deeper and like metamorphosing one layer at a time. But it's what helped me the most is really ownership of my victim. And to me, ownership is own my shit. Ownership. So own your shit. And so own your shit. So I try to own my shit as much as I can. And sometimes I dig very deep shit that I don't want to own. And then eventually I say, okay, well, how do I own that? I need to find resources and help sometimes to, okay, so what do I do with this? It's a big pile here. But plenty, and I think it's a blessing in disguise if you know if you have the right tools to manage it. Because
I think the hardest part with victim mindset is like spotting it. Because victim mindset, the word victim mindset sounds weak, but it doesn't often feel weak to be a victim. So, a great example of this is, my partner, like, she used to do these things that would annoy me. For example, she would come home late when I have like 5 videos to record the next day, for example. So I was like, I gotta be on, and she would come home partying like 2 a.m. And the narrative in my head that I told myself was, no, I'm gonna be angry because I'm not gonna let you do this to me. Right? And that doesn't feel like a victim. That thought doesn't feel like a victim thought, because you're like, no, I'm not going to let myself be a victim of you. I'm not going to let you do this to me. Right? But the very fact that you just blame your problems on her is you already playing victim. So that's a classic example of how like the victim mindset may not always feel like victim, but they are victim, which is why we're so blind to it too. Because if you were the hero mindset, which is the opposite of victim mindset, you would ask yourself, okay, she came home late. Is it because we failed to have certain conversations that we need to have about time management, about my schedule, about how I feel about it, stuff like that? Have I made my schedule tomorrow clear? Right? Like, there's so many conversations that we could have that I could have started, that I didn't start, and because I didn't do it, that happened, right? So instead of blaming this on other people or something outside your control, you are looking within to go like, what can I control? How can I have done better? And that's a much more like productive way to look at life, because when you're saying your problems are because of something outside your control, you're also automatically saying your solutions are outside your control, which is why people just, victims always just whine. They whine and whine, but they don't do anything. Right? They take no steps to actually do something about what they're whining about. They just whine, and they're doing the wrong thing. Was that?
Or they're doing the wrong thing.
Or they're doing the wrong thing. Yeah.
Damage.
Yeah.
That was my case. I was acting, but I was acting out as opposed to acting well.
Yeah. And the other thing too is like, the other reason why I think victim mindset is so hard to find is because, like, again, the rewards and punishment paradox thing that we talked about, right? Because victim mindsets and victim thoughts are always make you feel good right now, but they will always fuck you over in the long term. While hero mindsets are hard today, but they will only rescue you much later, kind of thing. And you look at, like, for example, like any good habits you can think of, they always reward you now, but you may not die till later. You smoke a cigarette, you get the hit now, you may not get lung cancer till 20 years later, right? You have a bad diet. Every time you eat a cheeseburger and some junk food, you feel the hit now, you feel the satisfaction now, but you might not get fat and heart attack until like 20 years later. Who knows? But if you eat a salad, if you exercise, you feel the punishment now, but you might not see the major health benefits till like 10 years later. So that's why we always gravitate towards bad habits, towards the easy way out. And that's why we say, I accidentally adopted this bad habit, but we never say, I accidentally adopted a good habit. We never say that, because that rewards punishment paradox. Now, if you look at the MO of victim mindsets, they always reward you now, but they screw you over later, right? When you blame this on your partner now, it makes you feel good right now, but you'll see all the negative repercussions it has in the future. And so the victim mindset, by that logic, is also a bad habit, right? If you want to play the hero mindset, that's always a harder thing to do, because it's going to punish you now. So our default is always to like find and see victim mindset. Our brain is tuned to find and see victim mindset, which is why it's hard to see the other side, to see like the hero side of the victim mindsets. That's always like a constant work. But Gleb, I know you have to go, so we're just gonna end it here.
Yeah, sure, that's fine. It was exhaustive.
Yeah, that was really pretty exhaustive. Anything about something that you learned, that something that like you realized, the program that you felt like wasn't said from your end?
Well, all I can say is that if you're watching this to the viewers, and if you experience relationship challenges, chances are it's not only in your relationships, because the same patterns probably plays out in business, in life, and eventually will be reflected in your health. If you're hesitating between different kind of programs and different kind of things, I would just say, just make the decision, join Geoffrey, and give it a full-blown shot. I mean, metamorphose yourself. 6 months later, you won't believe you're going to look from a microscope to the version of today who is even hesitating. More money, happier relationship, better health. I mean, it's all available. And ultimately, what you're going to get is your own happiness. Yeah, and that's pretty much what you're here to do in life.
Yeah.
Be happy to enjoy it.
So, it's to me, yeah, it's just to me to see like how what made me successful in my relationship has made me successful in business, has made me successful in a lot of other areas of life too, because like everything is about, you know, like you talk about non-victim mindset, you talk about untethering, you talk about being emotionally more bulletproof, being more in control of your emotions, understanding how to talk to people in a way that creates safety, etc. All that stuff, like, tell me what that doesn't apply to, you know? Like, this still makes sense with anything. Anyway, if you guys want to explore the program that Gleb took here, that we talked about here, we do have a masterclass. You can access it down below this video. That masterclass is going to be about an hour and a half long. At the end of the masterclass, we'll show you how to apply for the program if you're interested. Note that right now we only have room to take in less than 10% of people who apply. So make sure you take that application process seriously, I guess, because yeah, you might not make it. You might not get it if not. But yeah, hoping to see you guys in the program. Many of you guys listeners here in the program soon. Gleb, thank you so much for an hour and 45 of time.
Thank you.
That was enjoyable, dude. Like, we went deep on some stuff. This is good.
Mm-hmm. And we just scratched the surface in anyways.
So that's scratch the surface in the objective sense of things. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. All right,
Awesome.
Gleb.
So much.
You have a great day.